The galaxy was wide, bright, and full of endless wonders. But Kira had never felt smaller in her life. She stood on the transparent bridge of the Varnian flagship, surrounded by her own people, yet none of them truly stood with her. Their silvery eyes avoided her, their long, elegant bodies shifting away, as if she were a stain among jewels. Varnian society valued strength of mind, clarity of emotion, and perfect self-control. And Kira had none of those things. She was too soft-spoken, too emotional, too attached to things that did not matter to others. And today, the council had made their decision final. Kira was rejected from the Varnian fleet, rejected from the diplomatic academy, rejected from her clan's future plans. She was an outlier, someone who felt too deeply. Her heart moved before her logic, and that made her, in their controlled culture, fundamentally flawed. But she did not cry. She simply stood there silently, hands folded, eyes lowered. Every word spoken around her cut deeper, but she took each one quietly. Someone whispered that she lacked discipline. Someone else whispered that maybe she should be sent away. Another voice suggested she would be better off with the simple species. When she looked up slightly, she noticed several Varnian officers glancing toward a small group of human delegates waiting at the far side of the chamber. Humans, the newest species to join the Galactic Alliance. They were loud, emotional, unpredictable, and absolutely impossible to categorize. Though not physically impressive and lacking the advanced psychic abilities the other species possessed, humans were known for something far more unusual. They stood with anyone who needed them. They supported the weak, protected the hurt, and cared for those who had no place. Humans were strange, Kira thought, but perhaps they were also kind. As the meeting ended, the High Chancellor dismissed her formally. Kira Vashlan, you are hereby released from your duties and stripped of your permissions. You will return to the lower settlement until further notice. Her heart fell, but she bowed respectfully. When she turned to leave, she caught several human eyes observing her with concern. Humans had a way of looking at others directly. Not like Varnians, who used subtle gestures. Humans didn't hide their emotions, they wore them openly. One man stepped forward. He was tall for a human, with dark hair, worn boots, and a jacket that looked old but well-loved. His name tag identified him as Commander Ethan Hale. He belonged to the Earth diplomatic expedition. He took a step toward her before anyone else dared. "Excuse me," he said gently. "Are you all right?" Her people froze. A human, approaching a Varnian, especially one recently rejected, was unusual and uncomfortable for them. But Ethan didn't seem bothered. Kira blinked, startled. "I am fine," she said softly, though she wasn't sure if even she believed the words. "You don't seem fine," he replied, voice calm, not pushing, simply stating. Humans had this strange talent of speaking truth without sounding cruel. "You should not involve yourself," another Varnian officer said sharply to him. "She is being reassigned. It does not concern your species." "There. Wah." Ethan's expression didn't change. "Does it concern her?" he asked, looking directly at Kira again. Kira hesitated. For a moment, she almost let herself speak honestly, but the eyes of her people pressed on her, reminding her she was already unfit, already a burden. "It is a private matter," she whispered. Ethan nodded slowly, respecting her choice. "All right. But if you need help, you can come to us." Her breath caught at the unexpected offer. No one had ever said that to her before, not even her own people. She didn't reply. She simply walked away, her steps quiet, her heart heavy. Days passed. Kira tried to keep herself busy. She helped clean the lower archives, organized old star charts, and sorted communication logs. She kept her head down and stayed silent. The Varnian settlement was beautiful. Built with glowing crystalline structures, and floating pathways, but none of it felt like home. She ate alone. She slept alone. She worked alone. Yet memories of Ethan lingered. Humans visited the settlement often because their ships needed constant repairs. Humans built things fast and broke things even faster. They laughed loudly, talked openly, and asked too many questions, but they also greeted her every time she passed by. Some waved, some smiled, some even tried to start small conversations. Humans didn't seem to care that she was unfit. They treated her like she mattered. One afternoon, when she was carrying a crate of data crystals, she saw Ethan again. He was repairing a damaged light bridge with 2 other humans. Sparks flew as he tightened a metal panel, his sleeves rolled up, arms covered in grease. When he noticed her, he stood up and smiled warmly. "Hey, Kira." Her steps faltered. Few people said her name with such ease. "Hello," she replied quietly. "Are they working you too hard down there?" he asked, noticing the heavy crate in her hands. "No," she said. "This is simply my duty." "Mind if I carry that for you?" he offered. She stiffened. "I cannot allow that. It is my assigned task." "Yeah," he said, "but I'm offering because it looks heavy, not because you aren't capable." Kira paused, surprised by the clarification. Humans always said unexpected things, things that warmed the space around them. Before she could respond, the crate suddenly slipped from her fingers as the bottom panel gave way. Data crystals scattered everywhere. A group of Varnians nearby gasped in irritation, whispering about her carelessness. She knelt down quickly, panic tightening her chest. She reached out desperately to gather the crystals before anyone reported her. But Ethan was already kneeling beside her. "Hey, it's all right," he said calmly. "Accidents happen." She shook her head. "Not in Varnian duty. Mistakes are unacceptable." "Well," he said with a slight grin, "maybe that rule needs updating." His light tone made her chest flutter strangely. As they picked up the crystals together, she noticed the other humans joining them too, helping without hesitation. They didn't know what the crystals were for. They didn't care about rank or punishment. They simply helped because someone needed help. Kira blinked rapidly, overwhelmed. When the last crystal was returned to the crate, she whispered, "Thank you." "You don't have to thank us," Ethan said gently. "People help each other. That's how we do things." She looked down. "Varnians do not operate that way." "Maybe they should." His words lingered long after he walked away. Over the next few weeks, she saw more of the humans. They always greeted her warmly. They shared food with her, strange meals with rich smells she'd never experienced. They told her stories about Earth, about oceans, mountains, and storms. They invited her to sit with them at breaks, even though she rarely accepted. And Ethan always noticed her first. He always asked if she was okay. He always checked if she had eaten. He always spoke to her like she wasn't a burden. Slowly, she began to change. She smiled more. She spoke more. She even laughed once, when a human engineer accidentally shocked himself on a power cable. The humans cheered at her first laugh like it was a festival, which embarrassed her terribly but warmed her heart too. Yet trouble was approaching. One night, alarms rang across the settlement. A rogue species, the Draxians, had attacked the outer shield grid. The Varnians panicked, their psychic links disrupted by the energy blasts. Their comm control faltered. Humans, however, moved with quick coordination. Ethan rushed through the settlement, helping evacuate civilians, directing people to shelters, and reinforcing barriers with portable shields. Kira saw him guiding injured Varnians into safe buildings. She followed, unsure if she should help or run. Then she saw a young Varnian child crying, trapped beneath a fallen support beam. Everyone rushed past, too panicked to stop. Kira froze for a heartbeat, then she moved. She ran toward the child, using all her strength to lift the beam just enough for him to crawl out. Her arms trembled painfully, but she held on. Ethan arrived seconds later, eyes wide. Kira! She gasped. Take him. Now. He grabbed the child and carried him away. She dropped the beam and collapsed, breathless. The ground shook as another explosion struck the settlement. Ethan rushed back to her. You're hurt. I am fine, she whispered. No, you're not, he said firmly. Come with me. She looked up at him, at the worry in his eyes. She had never seen someone look at her like that. Not with disappointment, not with judgment, but with genuine concern. Something warm spread in her chest. He lifted her carefully and guided her toward safety. Humans shielded them, forming a protective line, even though they had weaker bodies and less advanced armor. In that moment, Kira realized something important. Across the stars, many species rejected those who were weak or different. But humans did not. Humans stood by anyone who needed them, no matter their rank, their flaws, or their past. And as she leaned on Ethan's arm, catching her breath, she felt the truth settling inside her. Maybe she had been rejected by her own people. But humanity was choosing her. And that changed everything. The night after the Draxian attack felt heavy, like the air itself carried memories of fear. The settlement's lights flickered back to life slowly, humming with unsteady power. Many Varnians gathered in silent groups, their faces pale, their psychic calm shattered. They were a species known for mental strength and strict emotional control. But the sudden attack had shaken the core of their confidence. Humans, on the other hand, moved through the settlement checking damage, repairing structures, and helping anyone who needed support. They were tired, bruised, and dusty from smoke. Yet they still smiled, still cracked jokes with each other, still encouraged others to stay strong. Kira sat on a metal bench near the medical dome, a bandage around her left arm. She had refused the sedative the medic offered. She wanted to stay awake, to make sense of what had happened. Her thoughts drifted again and again to the moment she lifted the heavy beam to save the child. She had never believed herself capable of something so physical, so courageous. Yet she had done it, and Ethan's voice still echoed in her memory. You're hurt. Come with me. She wondered why it affected her so deeply. As she sat quietly, Ethan approached, wiping dust off his jacket. His eyes softened when he saw her. You should be resting, he said gently. I am resting, she replied, though her back was stiff and she looked anything but relaxed. He chuckled. Varnians have a different definition of resting, huh? She tilted her head. Perhaps. He sat down beside her, leaving a respectful distance but close enough that she felt his presence. Humans radiated warmth in a way Varnians didn't. She noticed it every time she stood near them. Thank you, he said suddenly. She blinked. For what? For saving that kid. If you hadn't gone for him, he wouldn't be here now. It was instinct, she said softly. I simply acted. That's what bravery is, Ethan replied. Acting when others freeze. Kira lowered her gaze. Varnians do not see it that way. They see only that I failed to follow protocol. I acted on emotion. Good, he said. Emotion means you care. And caring is never a weakness. She looked at him quietly, noticing something strange. When Ethan spoke, his voice didn't just reach her ears. It reached a part of her that had always been ignored, her heart. Before she could respond, a Varnian officer approached sharply. His posture was rigid, his eyes cold. Kira Vashlan, he said, you are required to report to the council hall immediately. Her heart tightened. Now? Yes. Your presence has been requested. Ethan frowned. She's injured. Can't it wait? The officer gave him a disdainful look. This is an internal Varnian matter. Kira stood, though Ethan rose beside her, as if ready to defend her if needed. It is fine, she said quietly. I will go. I will go. He hesitated, then nodded. "I'll be nearby if you need anything." His promise warmed her soul. The officer led her through the crystalline corridors toward the council chamber. The doors slid open with a sharp hum, revealing the 12 leaders seated in a perfect circle. Their faces did not show anger or approval, just cold neutrality. She stepped forward and bowed respectfully. "Kira Vashlan," the High Chancellor began, "we have reviewed your actions during the recent attack, and we find them concerning." "Concerning?" Her chest tightened. "You acted without authorization," another elder added. "You endangered yourself, and by extension, others. Such behavior is reckless." Her voice came out small but steady. "A child was trapped. There was no time." "That is irrelevant," the elder snapped. "Varnians must not allow emotion to cloud judgment." "Emotion. Again. Always emotion. You have displayed this flaw many times," the Chancellor continued. "We must reconsider your placement in our society." She felt her knees weaken. What does that mean?" "Your future here is uncertain," he said coldly. "We may need to remove you from the central settlement entirely." Exile. Her breath caught. She was not perfect, she knew that. She struggled with their expectations. But exile? That meant she had no place among her own people at all. "Is there no alternative?" she whispered. One counselor folded her hands. "There is one. You could join the human delegation as a temporary assistant. They have requested additional support. You may prove useful to them." The one, Arreto. The one, Kira's heart fluttered in confusion. The humans requested. Me? It was their commander, another elder said with thin disapproval. "Ethan Hale." Her breath stopped. "Ethan?" The High Chancellor leaned forward. "We do not understand why he chose you. But if they wish to take responsibility for you, the Council sees no reason to object." Kira swallowed. "And if I refuse? Then you will be sent to the outer settlements, where your presence will not disrupt our order." Her chest ached painfully. They did not care about her at all. She was a problem to be removed, not a person to be guided or helped. I accept the human assignment," she whispered. The Chancellor nodded. "Very well. You will report to their vessel tomorrow morning." The meeting ended just like that, her fate decided in seconds. As she walked out, her legs trembled. She felt unwanted, cast aside. But there was one small light. Humans had chosen her, even if she didn't understand why. She stepped outside and found Ethan waiting exactly where he said he'd be. His expression sharpened when he saw her face. What did they say? She tried to speak, but her voice broke. She looked away, ashamed. Ethan stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Kira, did they hurt you?" "No," she said quickly. "Not physically." He clenched his jaw. "Tell me." She took a shaky breath. "They want to exile me." Ethan's eyes widened. "What? Why?" "All. My no. Because I act on emotion. Because I am different. Because I failed to be what they wanted. And he looked furious, not at her, but for her. "That's ridiculous. You saved a kid. You did the right thing." She shook her head. "To them, I broke protocol." He rubbed his forehead, frustrated. "And what did you choose?" Her voice trembled. "I must join your human delegation, or they will send me away." Ethan exhaled slowly, then placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Kira, you're not joining us because you're forced. You're joining us because we want you with us." Her heart leaped at the sincerity in his voice. "You're not a burden," he added softly. "You're brave. You're kind. And you belong where people see your worth." She felt tears rise, but they were warm, not painful. The next morning, She arrived at the human vessel with a small bag and uncertain steps. The humans welcomed her with smiles and waves. They showed her a room, simple but cozy, far different from the cold crystal halls she grew up in. They offered her real food, not nutrient cubes. They asked her preferences, instead of giving orders. And they laughed freely. Humans laughed so much. At first, she didn't know how to react. When someone joked, she stared blankly, unsure what to do. When they encouraged her to relax, she stiffened, confused. Slowly, though, she began to understand. Humans didn't expect perfection. They expected effort. They valued feeling, not suppressing it. They encouraged expression instead of silence. Working with them felt natural. Ethan trained her personally. He taught her how to operate their communication systems, how human technology functioned, and even how to read human expressions, smiles, frowns, playful teasing. Varnians never used such open gestures, so learning them was surprisingly fun. "You're catching on fast," Ethan said one afternoon. Kira blinked. "I am? Truly?" "Yeah. You're a quick learner, and you don't give yourself enough credit." She looked down shyly. "Thank you." As days passed, she found herself seeking him out more often. He was patient, gentle, and always treated her like she mattered. When she doubted herself, he reassured her. When she stayed silent, he didn't push, he simply stayed close enough that she felt safe. One evening, after a long repair mission, Kira watched the stars from the observation deck. Humans came and went, chatting, laughing, telling stories. Ethan eventually walked up beside her. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. She hesitated. "Everything. My people. Your people. Myself. Do you regret joining us?" She turned toward him quickly. "No. Never." He smiled softly. "Good. Because we're glad you're here." Something warm spread through her chest at his words, but before she could respond, the deck lights flashed red. A message scrolled across the display. "Incoming Varnian Council transmission urgent." Ethan frowned. "What now?" Kira stepped closer to the screen, heart pounding. The message opened with the High Chancellor's stern face. "Kira Vashlen," he declared coldly. "Your assignment with the humans has created complications. We require your immediate return to the settlement. You are no longer permitted to remain among them." Kira felt the ground twist beneath her feet. Return? After they rejected her? Ethan stepped protectively beside her. "You don't have to go." But the message continued. "You have grown too attached to the humans. You are forgetting Varnian discipline. You must return before you become permanently unsuitable for your place in our society." Kira's heart cracked. They wanted her back not because they cared, but because they feared she was changing. Ethan clenched his fists. "They think they can pull you around like you're a tool." Kira stared at the screen, her voice trembling. "I do not want to go back. I... be... be... be..." Ethan looked at her, eyes steady. "Then don't." She inhaled shakily. "They will exile me." He stepped closer, voice firm. Kira felt tears build again, this time from relief, not fear. No one had ever stood by her. No one, except the humans. Except Ethan. And for the first time in her life, she realized something powerful. She wasn't alone anymore. The message from the Varnian Council echoed in the quiet observation deck, long after the screen went dark. Kira stood completely still, her hands trembling slightly at her sides. She had known the Council disapproved of her emotions, her choices, her closeness to the humans. But she never thought they would demand her return so suddenly. Ethan watched her carefully, his expression steady, but full of concern. Humans always showed their emotions openly. And in that moment, Kira found comfort in the way Ethan looked, ready to shield her from the entire galaxy if needed. "What are you thinking?" he asked gently. Kira swallowed hard. I am thinking. They do not want me. Not truly. They only want control. Ethan nodded slowly. Yeah. That's what it sounds like. She looked down, her voice soft. But if I do not go back, I will be marked as an exile. No Varnian will ever accept me again. He stepped closer. Kira, be honest with me. Do you want to go back to them? Her answer came instantly, without hesitation. No. The word felt freeing, like something she had carried for years finally lifted. It surprised even her how easily it came out. Then don't, Ethan said firmly. Stay with us. Kira's heart beat faster. Your people? Will they accept an exile? Ethan smiled softly. We don't care where you come from. We care who you are. Her breath caught. Humans were strange, so strange, but they were warm in a way she had never known before. Before either of them could speak again, the ship's internal alarm chimed. A soft tone this time, not the sharp emergency alert from the night before. The lights shifted to blue. A voice came through the intercom. Commander Hale, please report to the bridge. Incoming Varnian vessel approaching. Ethan cursed under his breath. They came fast. Kira felt a cold wave wash through her. The Council. They must already be here. Come with me, Ethan said, grabbing his jacket. We're not letting them take you without hearing what you want. He led her through the ship's halls. Humans moved quickly, preparing for diplomatic contact. Many greeted Kira with encouraging nods, sensing she was nervous. Some even whispered, "Don't worry. We got you," as she passed. No Varnian had ever said anything like that. On the bridge, the large screen showed a sleek, crystalline Varnian vessel hovering near the human ship. It glowed with pale blue light, elegant and silent. The human captain, a middle-aged woman with sharp eyes, turned to Ethan. The Varnians insist on boarding, she said. They say they need to retrieve one of their citizens. Ethan glanced at Kira. She's not going anywhere unless she chooses to. The captain nodded. Understood. A moment later, the Varnian delegation arrived through the docking bridge. 3 high-ranked elders stepped on board, their robes shining like frozen water. The Chancellor walked in front, his posture tall and rigid. His eyes landed on Kira immediately. Kira Vashlin, he said, voice smooth but cold. You will return with us now. Ethan stepped in front of her before she could reply. She hasn't agreed to anything. The Chancellor raised a brow. This is not a matter for humans. She is Varnian. Known. Ethan didn't move. She is a person. She gets to choose. The Chancellor's mouth tightened slightly. The closest thing Varnians had to showing irritation. Humans are too emotional, too protective of those who do not deserve protection. Ethan crossed his arms. If by those you mean her, then you're wrong. Kira felt a shock run through her. No one had ever defended her like this. Not against the Council. Not against anyone. She stepped forward slowly. Why do you want me back? She asked. Her voice soft, but clear. The Chancellor replied, Your attachment to humanity is troubling. You are losing discipline. You are forgetting Varnian principles. Kira felt anger rising inside her, an emotion she rarely felt, but one she suddenly didn't want to hide. I am not forgetting anything, she said softly. The elders blinked, surprised by her boldness. She continued, Humans treat me with respect. They help each other. They do not punish emotions. They do not punish mistakes. Humans encourage weakness, an elder snapped. Ethan scoffed. Funny, because humans were the ones protecting your settlement last night. The elder glared. You act on impulse. You lack order. And you lack heart. Ethan replied. The bridge grew silent. Kira took a small breath. She had always feared conflict. but now she felt a calm strength rise inside her. Maybe it came from being surrounded by people who believed in her. Maybe from knowing she had a choice for the first time in her life. "I will not return," she said quietly, but her words carried across the entire bridge. The elders stiffened. "You would abandon your people?" "I am not abandoning anyone," she said. "You abandoned me first." The Chancellor's voice grew colder. "You are choosing humans? Over your own kind?" Kira looked at Ethan. His eyes were steady, warm, full of quiet support. "Yes," she whispered. The Chancellor stepped forward sharply. "Then you leave us no choice. You are hereby exiled from all Varnian settlements." Her heart trembled, but this time she did not break. She straightened her back and met his gaze. "I accept that." The Chancellor turned to the human captain. "Your species interferes too much." The captain replied calmly. "We don't interfere. We protect people who need protection." The Varnians left soon after, their ship drifting away without another word. When the docking doors closed, the tension broke like a snapped wire. Kira exhaled shakily, her shoulders trembling. Ethan reached out and gently touched her arm. "Hey," he said softly. "You did the right thing." Her voice shook. "I am an exile now." He took her hand without hesitation. "You're with us now. And we don't let our people stand alone." Kira stared at their joined hands, her heart warming with a feeling she didn't know she could have. Belonging. The next weeks changed everything. Kira officially joined the human crew. The humans decorated her room with little things to make her feel welcome. Soft pillows, colorful lights, a small plant, even a handwritten sign that said, "Kira's Space." They taught her games, jokes, and human expressions. They took her to the kitchen, where she tasted real food for the first time. Spicy, sweet, warm dishes that made her eyes widen. Humans laughed every time she discovered a new flavor. She helped them repair equipment, improving their communication system with her knowledge. She learned how to speak her mind, how to express her thoughts openly instead of hiding them. And Ethan was always by her side. They spent evenings watching stars from the observation deck. Sometimes they talked for hours. Sometimes they sat quietly. The closeness enough to make her feel safe. One night, the stars looked especially bright. Kira leaned against the glass, her silver eyes reflecting the galaxy. "Do you ever think about the past?" Ethan asked gently. Kira nodded. "Yes, but it feels distant now, like a story from another life." "Do you miss them?" he asked. She thought for a long moment. "I miss what I wished they were, but I do not miss how they treated me." Ethan nodded slowly. "You deserve better." She looked at him, something soft blooming in her chest. "Humanity gave me something I never had." "What's that?" "A place where I belong." Ethan smiled, warm and quiet. "You always belonged. You just needed people who could see it." Kira stepped closer, feeling a pull she didn't fully understand, but didn't want to resist. "Thank you," she whispered. "For everything." He shook his head. "You don't have to thank me." But she did. Because humans had given her a new life, not by force, not by requirement, but simply because they believed she was worth standing with. The door opened behind them. One of the engineers poked his head in. "Kira, we're making hot chocolate. Come join us." Ethan grinned. She laughed softly, something she never thought she would do so easily. She took Ethan's hand again, her voice steady and full of quiet joy. "Yes, I think I am." And as she followed the humans, surrounded by their laughter and warmth, Kira realized something important. Rejected across the stars, she had finally found her place. Humanity did not just welcome her, they stood by her side. Always.